But I think if you do have an opinion and you do have a voice, it's important to use it.
Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. And,
Cool.
we'd love to just learn more about how you got into marketing and also just your history as a creative or even not as a creative, and what was your journey to Pink Shark marketing?
I grew up in Ohio. I went to a university out there called University of Toledo, the Rockets. It's not a big city, probably like 250,000 people or so. But it's very like manufacturing heavy, medical field related heavy, like tons and tons of medical facilities for people with like cancer and all these different things. So it's a very non-creative city. And, most of the stuff in business school was very opposite of, creative kind of direction. So it was more so like finance, accounting. I went for marketing and sales. And, even with marketing back then, that was just before things started really blowing up with social media. I think Instagram had just come out. I graduated in 2012. So Instagram came out around then, like 2010 or 2011. Anyways, it was still like barely even being used by people, let alone businesses. But, while I was there, I started helping out a buddy who was opening up a barbershop and just started helping with all his, marketing stuff and just everything. I had a desire to get involved in business just in general. So started working with him and, he's just like, whatever you want to work on. I need help. Obviously, I don't know anything about computers, don't know anything about this stuff. He was a friend I had known before. He'd cut my hair and, I'd gone out a few times with some friends and met him and stuff like that. But he quickly became somewhat of a mentor and big brother to me because
Awesome.
He was in the business world and I didn't have any exposure to that. So started working with him, helped him build his site, got him his logo done, and social media and all these different things and, business cards and photos and all kinds of stuff that I didn't know how to do before at all. I'd never done in my life and, just started doing, really found a passion for it. While I was in school, I had never even heard of, marketing agency or anything like that. It was so new, obviously being in a place like that. But I remember going to some of my professors and asking them like how I could, start a company that does this for other businesses, and nobody really had any answers for me. And at that time I had no exposure to it. So I had no idea what I was really talking about, which was really just building a marketing agency. So fast forward a year or two, I graduate, I think it was about a year. I graduate and then a week later I head out to LA, with the same dream that everybody has to do something bigger with their life from a place that there's not as much opportunity. So I went out to LA, dabbled in a few things, interned for a friend of a friend for a little while, a media company, and just doing different stuff. Got into a company that did mainly SEO, and so I started really learning a lot about SEO. I got really good at it, and some friends of friends needed help with their websites and started doing that. Got them ranked on Google first page and things like that while I was still working there, just as little side projects. And then I started realizing that it was something that I was good at and I enjoyed. So I ended up quitting and starting my own company after being there for maybe a year or so. Started mainly doing SEO. I was taking on clients wherever I could. Before that, when I was in Ohio, I had done every job possible. But some of the last jobs I had done were like sales related. So I had some of that background and, really just started like focusing my time into every phone number that I had, every person that I knew that had a business, and just started hitting them up saying if they need help with anything marketing wise, even though at the time I was really mainly just doing SEO. And then, if they needed more stuff, I was trying to just find people to bring on basically to my team to work with them, to take care of other things that they might need along the way and just start becoming like their marketing director practically. But from there, started doing websites. And then after that, started doing social media and did that kind of like those three areas for a while. And then I don't know exactly how long later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, got a lot more into the advertising side. And that's where I really feel like things really took off for me as well as the business, because before the advertising side, being a marketing company, it takes a long time to get search engine optimization results and organic social media results and things like that. So that's when we really started to kind of dig into something that really worked, and we found formulas that made a lot of sales for clients, and things started to take off. So then from there, I was able to build out more of a team, and that's where my creativity finally blossomed again, because I wasn't so busy just doing tedious, because for a while I was basically an employee at my own business, doing every single thing that was needed, like everything. I was doing graphic design work here and there. I wasn't a graphic designer, but I was in Photoshop making up flyers and things, just throwing it together. Anything that I could do to help the client and save profit, I would do. So, and then started building out the team more and more, to the point where like I got to kind of choose what areas I want to focus in.
Nice.
For instance, right now, I mainly just deal with, managing the team, working with the clients, and my main focus for creativity right now is Facebook and Instagram advertising. So I really enjoy getting creative with breaking down what their real audience should be. What is this business? What are they providing for their clientele? What's their clientele's problem that they're looking to have fixed, and how can we deliver the right messaging to them through the creative content, so video, photo, copy, and all that kind of stuff. But then on top of that, which further down the line of doing all this advertising stuff, we started to realize is, it's not only important for that initial touch point, but then how they end up getting into, like the sales funnel basically with the business. So it goes back to then being more creative on the website and actually diving into how the things work on the website. So not just having like a pretty site, but having a mixture of a pretty site plus functionality of like, they need to have a form on there so we can track it and make sure that, these things are actually working and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I got from there to here. And, now my creative role is really just, building out these campaigns that help the companies scale. So.
No, I love that. No, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's it's an inspiring story, because coming from a small town, and then from a business background in sales and marketing, and then you actually had to start creating things. You had to learn how to be creative in order for you to keep your clients and get clients. And then as you started growing, you started delegating that to other people, and then you had to start managing the business. But also that creativity that you learned, it helped you talk to creatives, and it helps you actually create a campaign with people who are you would want more talented in you in that field, but you still have that creative direction. And it's an awesome story, because I mean, I have the opposite. I was a creative and I had to learn marketing and sales and business. And then now it's combining the two, because I love what you're doing with your marketing campaigns and your ad campaigns and your content is you're trying to figure out what's the end result that your clients want. What's the goals? What is, their clientele? What are their needs? How are you going to provide the solution? Not just on that video, but through the marketing funnel. And the whole idea of a website that actually functions as a funnel, it's a conversation I've had with a past podcast interviewee, Terry Wu, who's a neuro marketer, and he studied neuroscience. And we talked about how websites, a lot of graphic designers would create this beautiful website, but sometimes you can't even read half the text, or it takes too long to load. And so it's great how you found creativity and functionality to really, and also a goal driven intention behind your marketing and also your design. It's a really great way to get results and actually feel satisfied after a creative campaign, because I think that a lot of creativity, when you're putting it out there, you can feel very vulnerable. Especially with marketing campaigns, because with marketing campaigns and especially advertisement, like you have money behind it. And to lose out and to see the percentages and to see the data and to see your ROI, there's a point where the creativity and of course the monetary effects of your campaign, like it starts dictating each other. Like, do I want to make more sales? So my creativity may have to basically shift towards more CTAs of like, hey, go to the website, use this coupon code, or does the creativity, do people really love the creativity so much? Are we more of a creative company? Do we make something so super cool that people love our branding, our voice, our messaging, that they become a loyal customer and they would just buy it from us? And so it's really cool that you've actually had this amazing journey. And I want to ask you, when it comes to working with clients and when you first started getting into advertising, marketing and advertising, talk about like the different processes when it comes to those two different fields, and how does it actually help each other when it comes to working with a client that wants marketing and then has a budget for advertising?
Obviously, everybody has a different perspective of, like marketing and branding and all these things. Would you group branding and marketing in the same category?
That's tough because branding also comes with design. And so it in a way it is, because marketing in a way is how you present yourself to the world. Branding is also how you present yourself, even when it comes to your messaging and your content, your voice, even the way that you look, the color palette, the fonts. That in a way attracts a certain type of person. So I would say, yes, it would be kind of in the same realm.
Yeah. I mean, so if we're including the branding and the marketing in like the same grouping, I mean, I think the branding and the marketing side of it is really the foundation and the base for everything. But, the advertising is what really ignites everything. So it's pretty much like turning up the heat. It's like a test stage for building out the business. In my eyes, especially looking back on pre-advertising days with the clients, it's really like you're just kind of building out on this, you're building out outside of that busy road. You're on small street, you're getting the feel of things, you're kind of starting it out, getting things going, kind of building it out. And then advertising is where you relocate to Sunset Boulevard or something like that, where everybody's seeing you now. And, if you have problems with, your creatives, or you have problems with the product or anything like that, it's exposed now. So they work really harmoniously, but, like with just doing a lot of like the basic marketing things, for me, it's hard to really see all of those gaps and those holes in the business and the designs and things like that until you really turn up the heat. But there are some marketing, if we're kind of separating advertising, I would still kind of consider advertising with like working with influencers and other brand partnerships and things like that will help it get exposure as well. But some of that can kind of be categorized as marketing as also. So you can still get a lot of exposure under those kind of areas, but really where you turn up a lot of traffic and things like that come in from that. But it's like once you start doing advertising, then you see where, things need to get touched up within the branding and the marketing and design and, all that kind of stuff as kind of how to do things differently. But I think as long as, there's sort of basic formulas to follow with doing these creatives a certain way, having storylines and having, features and benefits explained and then getting into some sort of call to action. I mean, with really big brands, some of it's just awareness for creatives, but, the brands that don't have huge budgets, it's more important to get to the information as well. You can kind of start off more creative, but then you go into those formulas to kind of make something happen with it. So
nice. Yeah. I mean, with that in mind, when it comes to budgets and, working with advertising budgets with big brands and smaller brands, when it comes to your creative process, I know that there's going to be that process, the whole, how does my budget that I have available dictate my creative? And then how does my creative dictate the budget in the pitch realm when you're pitching it? You have your RFP. So tell me about the process of your creative when you are pitching And then when you finally get the budget, whether you get the budget you want or not, and how you're able to maneuver the creative so that it fits within a budget.
Well, a lot of our clients that come to us already have a lot of their creatives in place, whether it be photography, video, things like that. But there's a lot of ways when it comes to advertising, especially since majority of success right now for advertising is in social media. Some of the things don't have to be huge productions to really be effective, although they need to be well thought out. And it's good to have a mixture. But for those clients that don't have the crazy budgets and we can't, have a production crew do something, we suggest them a lot of ideas that they can do themselves, or that they can pay an influencer to do. Send a product to that influencer. The influencer is going to create content for them, and then they can use that for advertising as long as everything is approved by the influencer, someone that they know, or maybe themselves. Because a lot of times there's videos like selfie style videos that are shot on their phone that can work really well for advertising as well. So sometimes it doesn't have to be the most produced content when it comes into these advertising campaigns. So it works really well. But if you're trying to get past a certain level, you definitely need to, you need to have some really awesome content that's got the ability to get earned publicity where you don't have to necessarily pay for it. And, you've got such a cool video that people are doing articles about it, or, it gets reposted on a lot of big pages and things like that because it's really funny, or, really awesome and really dramatic and, emotional or something like that. There's those aspects to it as well. But if it's strictly just advertising, sometimes some of the most basic content or just a really clean photo will work. It depends on what we're talking about as well. And, it depends on how much explaining needs to go into something and things like that. Like sometimes we'll suggest clients to do like testimonial videos, where they have some of their clients even just shoot it on their phone. It feels more real. It pops up in the news feed on Instagram or Facebook, and you're scrolling through and you stop because you're like, oh, is this one of my buddies like talking about a product? Because it's not, it doesn't look like it's a commercial or something like this. So it depends. But places like YouTube, if you're like jamming out to music in your house and stuff, and something pops up, it's a little bit more intrusive. Whereas in places like that, it's really important to have really cool, interesting content that feels well produced and a higher level at times. It depends on what kind of content as well, like what kind of content you're watching and how you're targeting and things like that. So it's all definitely variable depending industry and product and all that kind of stuff.
No, that's true. No, that's great to know, because I've actually, it's been the year of Zoom and the year of user-generated content, and actually people, filming themselves at home for broadcast TVs. I just directed and produced this segment for HBO. It's premiering next Friday. Just got the rough cut. I had to remote direct people, celebrities in their homes, filming themselves on their iPhones and their iPads. And it's just, we're going through the editing process now, going through the colorist and sound mix, and it's okay. I mean, now it's a little bit more acceptable because people know what's going on in the situation. And even last year, my friend who had a company, he was telling me he has a Red camera. He's a videographer, and he started his own business. And he realized that he was filming these commercials and these ads really top notch with his Red cam. But the ones that were getting the most views were these selfie cam videos that were coming from influencers and from himself and his girlfriend. And it's to a point now, like you said, where people like seeing more relatable, organic content rather than just a fully fleshed out commercial, because they believe it more. It's almost like they see more truth and relatability behind a selfie cam than from a $5 million commercial in the Super Bowl. And it's interesting now because I'm seeing it more and more this year, especially with TikTok. The idea of a lot of brands just wanting to, hey, can you just do a TikTok style video for us? And it's I'm sitting here with this $25,000 camera package, wondering why I even invested in it. And now looking at the different types of technology that users have in their hands with their phones and how it's going to change. And so, when you are working with different companies and different brands from different verticals, and you have to create an advertising campaign, how do you come up with your ideas? Like how do you get into your creative flow to create a campaign for a specific type of client that may not be the same industry as your previous client or your current clients?
That's a good question. I think one of the most important things is getting started when you're ready. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's important to stick to a schedule and things like that. I'm pretty strict on my schedule. I have a pretty well organized calendar, and I color coordinate, color code things and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I might have planned to start on a new campaign this afternoon, let's say. Mm-hmm. I'm just feeling low energy. I'm not in the mood. I'm not there yet. So I might take off a couple hours and, get out, do something different, come back, and possibly that night, or if I'm still not there, I might wait till tomorrow and get started. But when I do, I'm fully focused and in it. So it's like, you understand the that creative focus and creative zone that you get into is like, especially with video production. I know you guys be working for 24 hours straight and stuff, like energy drinks and like programmers, just going at it. Because once you step away from it, two things happen. One, you can kind of forget your place and forget your train of thought of like why you placed things in certain ways that you did. Mm-hmm. Obviously that's like a negative side of walking away, but then the positive is, you have different perspective looking at it. When you can take some room to breathe. So I think if you max yourself out during the creative session, whatever you're trying to do, it's important to take those breaks and stuff. I've heard from some like mind hack kind of people that I want to say it's like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, they say, and then you're supposed to take a break. But for me, I think it's a little bit longer for my sessions. It depends on what you're working on, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But if you're working on something that's, that needs a lot of focus, at least in my instance, I think my time frame is more like a couple hours and then take a quick break and then jump back into it. But I think a lot of it is just getting yourself mentally prepared and all that, but then also diving in eventually, not waiting too long. Even if you're not fully ready, it's like, okay, you already give yourself an extra day to jump in and you start to find it. But then from there, it's looking at inspiration of like, other companies in the industry doing good research, seeing what people are doing, seeing what people are reacting to, what's working, and the client's vision. I'm going to have partly my own vision for their business, so somewhere a happy medium in between. Especially being in a video production area, you might have a very different vision than they do, and they can't really see your vision because they're not in your mind, but they don't have the experience with it, but they still think that their idea is the best. So it can be really difficult to get to a happy medium. But then you've got other clients who are like, hey, I trust you, just run with it. Those are the ones that are really fun. You get to do what you picture with it. You've done a lot of work, so you kind of know what you're doing. So it's not like it's going to come out terrible or something. It's like, sometimes it's just really important for the clients to let people run with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's sometimes also where the client has their reference videos and their reference photos and ad campaigns all ready to give to you, and they give you the budget, and you look at them like, oh, do you realize that they spent maybe 100 times more for this whole production? And at the same time, like you have to become a teacher. You also have to be patient because people that aren't knowledgeable of that space, especially when it comes to creative. Creative right now, people see Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, and they see kids becoming famous that don't have these expensive production equipment. And so they see video and photos or whatnot being cheap. and being inexpensive, and they expect that, yet they don't see the amount of work that goes into that for bigger campaigns. And I love what you said about the idea of brain hacking and creativity and working, because I used to be in the camp of 50 minutes work, 10 minutes rest. And I was doing that when it comes to administrative or just more of business type of work. For me, that can work. Yeah. Though when it came to creative, it's so true. I directed the series for Colgate, and we just wrapped. We're premiering next week on YouTube, and I had to polish and edit it out. And I remember there were nights where I said, okay, I'm going to do 50 minutes here, and then 10 minutes, 50 minutes here, then 10 minutes rest. I would have 50 minutes of no creative inspiration, then 10 minutes came, and then right before the 10 minutes, the creative inspiration came. And you just can't be robotic like that with creativity. Yeah. There are, I know for some people out there, they think that it's strange saying this, but there is this muse, there is this ethereal creative angel that can give you this idea and give you this creative spark and energy that you have to run with. And if you don't keep running with it, you can actually lose that creativity. And it shows in these 3 videos I've done for Colgate. The third one, I actually thought it was going to be the worst one because I had no sleep. It was a tight deadline. I had to get it done in about 8 hours. It's the best video. And it came out of necessity. It came because I was working at 10 p.m. to about 2 a.m. And it came during a time where I was so focused because there was a deadline and my reputation was on the line, and I had to perform. And it's almost that pressure just basically gushed out all this creativity out of me. And now this beautiful video was made. And beforehand, when I had all this time on a video, I would procrastinate. You would get to a point like, I'll do it on Friday. Oh, you know what? I didn't feel it today. I'll do it on that Saturday. Oh, I should rest today. I'm going to rest this weekend. I'll just do it on this Monday. And it's almost that necessity is needed in order for you to actually perform and to get your ass off your chair and off your bed and then get into that seat or whatever and get creative. And for you, working with clients now in advertising and seeing all the changes from this year, what have you seen differently because of all the production restrictions and COVID and even with messaging when it comes to BLM? Like, how has everything in advertising shifted for you in the past 6 months?
It is a good question. Well, fortunately for me and our business, we haven't had to change a whole lot with like everything that's been going on with COVID and whatnot. Because a lot of our stuff is not in person. A lot of our clients are over the phone, Zoom and all that, even pre-COVID. And like I said, we don't do a lot of video production and things like that. So, so we do some photo shoots for products and things like that. That's probably the most common would be like a client wants to shoot photos for a product. That actually brings it to a big difference. Was we had to shoot something. This was during COVID's peak, also, BLM peak, both around the same time, and
May, yeah.
And at this time, we were looking for models to shoot for one of our clients, and it was so difficult to find anybody first that was available because a lot of people were protesting and stuff, and joining the movement and things like that. So you can't rush people when they're doing things, especially if it's for something that they believe in heavily. So it's, you kind of just have to wait around for things to pan out. Yeah. I mean, that was probably like one of the most stressful times was trying to get that client their work because at the time they were contacting us every couple of days. What's going on? We're like, we're still trying to find a model. Like the last one just bailed. They couldn't make it. People don't want to get in person to shoot something. So that's when, like you said, shooting from home and things like that would come in handy. We eventually got it done. We found somebody who wanted to shoot, all that kind of stuff, but definitely difficult. But in that same realm, a lot of like the products that aren't, most of our clients have smaller products. They're not, a huge thing that has to be shot in some giant location or anything like that. So they could ship uh, they can ship the products to our photographer or have it like Ubered or, things like that. And it can be shot by the photographer at their home studio and, knocking things out like that. So those probably would have been the biggest things, but messaging wise for us, I don't think that any of our clients had a whole lot of changes that needed to happen. I think just being a little bit more aware of the way that you're saying certain things so it's not taken the wrong way, especially during a sensitive time in history. But I can't recall any specific clients that we had like a really tough time with anything that we were saying or doing that had to be really adjusted heavily. But I could definitely see how it could, depending on what industries you're in, as well as, getting involved. And I think one of the biggest things would be the decision of getting involved or not getting involved as a company, because you're kind of taking sides, like,
right.
And this gets to a little bit more like of a political thing, but it's, the country is very divided right now, and you're kind of on one side or the other, and people look at each other as enemies at this moment. It's a really weird time. I think COVID shook up everything a lot as well on top, but then the companies are getting involved in what they stand in now and where they stand, and you have to really be confident in what you're saying and really mean it. Whether all your customers, no matter which stance you take on anything, your customers are going to have something to say about it. Some of them, it's going to be good or bad. You're going to lose some and you're going to gain some because of, those things. So it's definitely been a really interesting time, with how all this stuff is going. But
it is. And no, but those are that's great advice actually for a lot of companies. It's because now, even if it's six months after COVID and then BLM is still heating up and now the election is coming and cancel culture is just spicy right now. People are ready to cancel somebody out, and this conversation of like, if you don't say it right, it's so tough for companies to advertise. It's tough for creatives as well to be creative, because there was a time where if you were putting something online, but you weren't mentioning BLM or your stance for it, then you were complicit. Or if you just posted you on a beach saying, "Oh, I'm over here having a great time in my life," you were insensitive of what was going on, and it's a strange way to kind of think of how you are supposed to represent yourself online, because for companies it's almost like, look, we're just trying to sell a soda here. I'm not trying to get political. We've never been political, and there's a fine line of being silent because you just don't want to say anything wrong, and then of course being silent, and there's like you have like a little bit of an opinion or a strong say against BLM and how the police should be funded. And so it's interesting coming from an advertising point of view, because you're dealing with people's money and you're dealing with people's budgets, and you have to figure out what is the messaging I need to create so that A, my client doesn't get canceled, and B, they increase their sales, and then C, like their audience and their clients, their current customers can still be evangelists and be proud of their company. It's crazy. And so like, I know you probably have to go and have a busy day, but like, what is your advice to companies out there and even just advertisers and marketers when it comes to the creative vision during this time? Like, how should they create their messaging, their content, in order for them to speak their voice and also gain the conversion that they want?
I mean, I think it's important, if you've got a team in your company and everyone feels one direction, I think it's important to showcase that, because to hide how you guys really feel as a business is, is also like kind of hindering you from blossoming as a company and, all that. But then, I know there's people who don't really take sides and they don't really focus on anything like that. It's, like, I would also say don't jump into it just to profit from it. I think it's not really a correct thing to do either. So I think it really just matters how your company culture is, and those sort of things, to jump in or not, and to take which side your company kind of votes on, internally, like what everybody's about. But I think if you do have an opinion and you do have a voice, it's important to use it when putting the creatives together, things like that. You see like a lot of big brands now voicing their opinions on a lot of things, and it's good to see, especially the ones that are really pushing for positive change and reinforcement and whatnot. But I think it's important not to be afraid to say what you think as well, in these times, because you're gonna upset a few people, but if you're putting out there how you truly feel, I think more people will want to buy your brand based on the authenticity of the brand, and being for what you're for and what you stand for and the values of the company. It's like you can put together a mission statement and a value, of your company, what you guys value and all that. But like, if you don't follow it, and if you showcase that within speaking up for the little guys and things like that, I think it gives you more power and shows, what you guys are actually about. So.
No, that's great advice. And I mean, I was just watching the NBA playoffs last night, and it's everywhere. I mean, the way that they brand themselves and how they stand up for, social justice and BLM. And so, bigger corporations now, NFL too, and Nike, they are really taking that charge. And it does, in marketing, it's the, adage of like, you're trying to repel the people that you don't want and try to attract the people that you do. And this is the perfect time for that. It's the time where you're going to be canceled by some people, but you're going to be loved by other people. And so,
remember that too.
So Michael, thank you so much. This is a really awesome conversation. And, when everything opens up, we'll have to grab it in person, or even, lunch with you sometime here in LA. You have some really awesome stories, and I think we vibe on a really cool creative and business level. And thank you so much for being here. And before we go, can you let the people know where to find you and how we can support?
Yeah, of course. Well, if you're interested in marketing services, advertising, and whatnot, pinksharkmarketing.com. You can contact us through there. All the contact info is there. And if I'm mainly just on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, it's M as in Michael _ Preston, Preston.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to be following you right after this. So thank you so much, Michael. Have a good rest of your day and weekend.
Thanks, Mitchell. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com, and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.